Hi, so this article is a lot older. It's not that much older, but the reason I'm reading this article, I'm just going to go into reading it, but I want to say before I start reading it that this has to do with USC and it has to do with the gentrification situation that has happened. And what I've discovered, I was really paying attention. Like, if you look on, let me just get to the nitty gritty. If you look on apartment.com, if you look on hotpad.com, rent.com, you see the prices or the rent has skyrocketed. And it's very rare that you find anything that is a 2 or 3 bedroom that is below 2K a month. And this is what I want to say. A lot of people who used to live closer to the USC University campus were living there for many, many years, and they were families. But a lot of those families, what we're not hearing, were displaced not only because of the skyrocketing rents, but also because of the expansion that they made around USC campus. And almost most of those places around that are in close proximity, they want USC students because the USC students have parents that may be doctors, lawyers, judges, or they'll pay their way and they can get different students that come in that'll pay the high prices of rents because they can have like multiple um, people sharing or sharing an apartment, and they can pay. Now, I'll just say that some of the places are really expensive. So, from what I've seen, some of them are like 3K, 4K, 5K, and they'll have like maybe a kitchen area or a common area, and then all the rooms are rented out by each of the students. And so they have situations like that. So they can pay, if let's say it's cheap for a student if they're paying 1,000 K a month, but if you have 4 or 5 students that are living in one area and they share the kitchen and they share the common area as a study hall or a little study area, they can pay the 4K because when it amounts out to 4K or 5K, how many students are sharing, that apartment. And so they've basically turned some of the apartments into student living. And so that is the reason why some of those families that you see that were living once in the USC area had to move because they couldn't pay 3K and 4K and 5K a month. They were paying like regular low income rent. And so a lot of families were displaced out of that USC area. So I'm going to read this article. This was around 2017. And so it says, with the rise of USC Village comes a community left in limbo. And so this was out of the Daily Trojan. I believe this may be in a paper, a local paper at the time that was circulated, but not many people were really paying much attention because what we've heard is some of the homelessness is caused by just rising rents and developers coming in and rising rents alone, but we don't know all of the details with some of these areas and what has been happening. I'll say this before I get into this article that if you look on some of those apartments, they almost always will ask whether you're a person that is steady working and if you're a student. And they want to attract students because students come with more income because they're there for a semester. They're not going to live there for years, but they can get multiple people to come in each semester and pay the higher price of the market rate rent. And so that's constant money coming in, and you know that if students need to live close to the campus, you know that's a constant income, and so that's what's been happening. And so that's what's left a lot of families displaced as well. And so this hasn't come out, I don't think, enough, because they cater to the USC students. And I'm not saying that necessarily is a bad thing to want to help students find off-campus student housing, but it has now impeded in the lives of people who have lived there for years and years and years, who may have no other way of living, and those were places that they grew up, they've been there for years, and they're paying the rent steady, but they're moved out because developers come in also sometimes, and they'll take maybe buildings and renovate them and then sell those buildings to someone, and then for profit, and then they turn the buildings into STUHO, which is student housing. And so it puts out families. They're not looking for people with kids and with, regular family people. They are looking for only students because they can get the higher rents. So this was by Sarah Chan and Kaylee Cheung. And so when the university announced the construction of USC Village in 2011, it made no shortage of promises. These promises included a range of student housing options to help address skyrocketing rents in the community. So the creation of the thousands of jobs, this is what people were told. Oh, if we build more for USC, there's going to be more jobs for people who need it, and then that will help you pay your rent. But listen to this. So thousands of jobs for the South LA residents and a wide range of high quality affordable retail, according to university press release. Student customer price points and community member customer or custom price points are extremely a good match. So however, a State of the Neighborhood report conducted by the university in 2015 estimated about 47.3% of the families with children in the University Park campus area were living in poverty between 2008 and 2012, close to double the overall rate for Los Angeles. Additionally, the rate of families in poverty in the UPC area has increased by 11.5% since 2000, the early 2000s. So moreover, an unsettling correlation exists between community displacement associated with USC related ventures and poverty rates in the area, according to the same report, as the local population unaffiliated with USC has decreased due to the displacement. A number of families facing economic and health issues has increased. And now where are we at? COVID-19. That makes it even worse. It exacerbates it. So despite these statistics, USC continues to expand into the surrounding community. Let me repeat that again. Despite the statistics, USC continues to expand into the surrounding community, with the renovated USC Village standing as the most recent example. Small businesses that originally set up shop in the old University Village are watching their storefronts be replaced with retail and corporate chains they believe many members of the community will struggle to afford. Daisy Castro is a current office manager at Kravitz Optometry, which operated in the University Village from 1984 until its recent move to Figueroa Street in the University Gateway complex when renovations had began. So when I started at the University Village, it was like you're living in a little old town, said Castro, who has been working at the practice since 1986. So she recalled memories of a shopping center closely knit with its surrounding community and local family life. Neighborhood caroling at the University Village around Christmas time, a costume contest for children on Halloween, an affordable, accessible grocery store called Market Superior. I remember all that because I lived in that area, and I'm saying this. So the village was very involved with neighbors. But when USC bought it, everything declined. Castro said. People who were there were raising prices and the community was leaving. They left and they got new people coming in because of the price. USC was making those changes because they had a project in mind. They wanted everybody out so that they could build what they just built now. And so if you go over there now, you see all these sprawling buildings, or huge buildings, and all these different storefronts and retail places. They have a Target and Trader Joe's. It's nice, but it's pricey. And so she predicts that the upcoming changes, locals will only steadily depart from an area that no longer services their needs. And so I think that it's mainly designed for students, not the community. And she is absolutely right and correct, because I've been over there on multiple occasions and it is designed for the students. It's not designed for like families and community. Although you're welcome to come in and you're welcome to spend your money there, but living there is going to be a very difficult task. And I'm saying that this is, in my opinion, because I've been over there, and it's not just an opinion, honestly. I've been over there, and a lot of people that are there, they're struggling to pay their rent. And what the landlords are doing, and let me be honest, is they're trying to find ways so that they can get you to move out, so that they can get that market rate rent, that high 4K, 5K, 6K, so they can move students in or people that are high income earners. And that's what they're trying to do in a lot of these neighborhoods. That's why they become gentrified, because you not only have the developers that come in and build the luxury buildings and commercial properties, but you also have landlords that want that high, they want our owners that promote getting the USC students or high income earners, because their whole primary goal and practice is to move out the low income and the people who are living below the poverty level are low income wage earners. The people who that you want working on the front lines, they want to push you out so you move further away, which makes that commute impossible. And so you cannot live in these areas because the rents are too high. So Castro said of the shops and the eateries coming to USC Village this fall, she says that this is just primarily for students. So the USC wants to have a better presentation from across the street from the university to have something as pretty as we see now. And so they're all about the looks and the aesthetics of the streets. So they've also changed the streets, the lighting also, so it's for students that bike. They have bike lanes. And so you do not want to drive fast, or you do not want to drive carelessly in those areas. They have it specifically meant. It's like USC City over there. And so in October of 2012, the Daily Trojan reported that USC first USC Village proposal, the specific plan did not include provisions for current tenants to have spots at the renovated village. So that tells you right there. So it was not until business owners pressured the university that it included an addendum which required the university to negotiate with tenants and retain those in good standing prior to demolition. So according to the USC Real Estate and Asset Management Department, at the time of the 45 Village, tenants not associated with USC, only Starbucks and Bank of America were able to negotiate their futures at the new USC Village. And so the other 43 tenants, unsure of their fate, had to shift to a month-to-month leases in the time leading up to the demolition. So this was when they were starting to renovate and they were making their decisions and plans how to start moving these new places in. So this move toward the month-to-month leases marked the beginning of the end of the Magic Machine University Graphics, so a print and copy store owned by Jerry Zokai. So correct me if I'm wrong on the last name, but who immigrated from Persia in 1987 and bought the store shortly after. So Zokai's son, Mike Zokai, remembers that the emotional toll of the development that it took on his father. So these are people who were small business people, or they had small businesses, but they had to consider, because of the rent space, what they were going to do, how they were going to maintain, and it became overpriced for them, and it was a strain. It was constraining to them. So he was in a bit of a panic because he was losing his business, and the hard part about it was that after all the work he had put into it for the past 30 years, he wasn't even able to sell the business. And so Mike Sokai said at the point with the changes, no one would look at the business anymore. And so according to Mike Sokai, his father moved the Magic Machine University graphics to a different location within the University Village several times after the month-to-month leases began. So in hopes to stay open for as long as possible. So all the businesses had closed down on that side of the mall, so there wasn't any foot traffic, Mike Sokai said. So he thought if he were to move over there, he could at least get a little bit of the foot traffic and still maybe be able to sustain himself. But this was not the case, and it went totally the opposite. So in addition to the addendum, University Village business owners in 2012 asked for the right of refusal rent subsidies if they return, and financial assistance for relocation as well. So some of these businesses owners told the Daily Trojan at the time that the university, or USC, offered to provide experts in relocating businesses to help them with their moves. And so Sean Kilikian, owner of the Village Cobbler, said that after he completed an application, and I remember this guy because he had like a shoe place. So he completed an application to return to the renovated USC. So USC not only helped him find a place to set up shop in the interim, but also worked closely with him to make this a reality. But some tenants say that this was not their experience. And so I don't think that the USC helped relocate Dr. Kravitz. Like I said, I'm the one who told him, let's go and see these places if you like it and you can move there. So Castro said so, but nobody said to him, so, oh, by the way, you can come here or move there. No. So Castro recalled meetings that hosted the university for the former village businesses about renovations. So she remembers that some of the business owners whom she was very close to telling her about talks to get their businesses to stay. And so these are people who had smaller businesses who were worried that they were going to lose their businesses and lose their profits and then have to move somewhere where they probably wouldn't even be recognized, or it would take a while for them to start up again. And so they needed money to be able to move somewhere else, or consider they want to pay the fee in the space in the new retail spaces that they had renovated there for USC. And so Mike Sokai said that he vaguely remembers an offer by the university to relocate Magic Machine University graphics into the new USC Village, but a combination of the increase in rent at the village and the evolution of the technology ultimately led to his father's decision to close the shop permanently. So this was what people were faced with. So it not only moved living residents out of the area from the high priced rents, but it also moved regular small business entrepreneurs and business owners to have to really seriously consider, can you afford the space rents that they had that was increased or inflated. So once you lose your customers, it's really hard to try and get them back, Mike Sokai said. And the new stuff they did at USC during that time, they established their own printing and copy centers. So anyone that used to go to our shop had no choice but to go to the other locations owned by USC. You hear that? So it didn't make sense for him to reinvest in it because there wasn't enough opportunity for him to reestablish himself in that arena. Okay, so in response to the relocation efforts, Steve Wesson, the USC Village Ombudsman, told the Daily Trojan that the university took many steps to help retail tenants with relocation. So tenants in good standing received as much as $17,500 in direct financial assistance. So Wesson said in an email statement, the university also helped qualifying tenants with lease negotiations and business plans. Retail tenants were given the opportunities to apply for space at USC Village, and three of those businesses returned to the site. Three. So Mike Zokai confirmed that the university did offer his father's shop financial assistance, which amounted to less than $10,000, compared to the business itself, which was worth $250,000 at the time. According to Mike Zokai, the compensation was only equal to a few months' worth of rent. And so that's not enough to really get on off the ground. So for a company that had established itself for over 25 to 30 years, a few $1,000s was kind of a slap in the face, so Kai said. So there they were like, we're only giving you 1 or 2 months to be able to sustain yourself, so find something. They didn't really evaluate or calculate how the value of the business was going to change just because they decided to do some development. So it was okay that they did it, but the compensation was not well calculated. So stemming from the concern for local businesses and the neighboring community with considerable property rates, USC Village construction was originally met with disapproval from the LA City Council and many of in the community. And so they realized what was going on, that they were going to be priced out of not only places to live, but businesses to run there. So the university responded to these concerns with promises of $7 million in community benefits, $20 million in affordable housing by 3,000 additional student beds, and creation of 8,000 construction related and 4,000 permanent jobs. So that was their response. So USC also set up a job fair catered specifically to LA residents or South LA residents, promising more than 30% of the jobs would be offered to members of the community. Let me tell you something. I'm going to stop here. Most of those jobs, the students, they work off campus and they work those jobs because it's convenient, because they can not only work close to the school, but they have a little extra income and they work close to the school and they live close to the school. So those jobs were not always offered to just LA residents. So let me correct them on that one. However, despite these community benefits, many local tenants who own businesses at the old University Village are still grappling with the effects of being displaced. So people who own businesses were even displaced because of these USC expansions. So Mike Zokai's father, for example, has been unable to find a steady job since the Magic Machine University graphics closing. He's not really retired. He's trying to find things here and there to do, but unfortunately, because of age and technology, it's been a little bit of a challenge for him to tap into anything. So Mike Sokai said, so it's been a loss for him, and it's actually affected his health in a way because of not being able to work and the pressure of not having the type of income that he had before. So they've not only displaced people who were families that were living in the community, they also displaced business owners that were small business owners that had small businesses. That was their income, their lifeline. They were displaced as well. So the renovation of USC Village has served to exemplify the conflicting pressures to meet the needs of a growing university while addressing local poverty rates. USC's transformation from the commuter to a residential university over the past few decades has required more and more student housing and services, which have contributed to an increase in rent prices and displacement of South Los Angeles residents. So that's why you see more people having to be pushed further away and paying these high rents they can't do. And so, in addition to the higher poverty rates, this displacement has also negatively impacted community diversity and public health, especially within communities of color. Now, this was before the pandemic. Just think of what's happening right now. So, a report published by the Human Impact Partners and the Esperanza Community Housing Corporation in 2012 found that the population of Black and Latina residents around USC decreased by 20.3% and 15% respectively between the years of early 2000 and 2010. You don't want to know what it's like now, it's worse. And so despite the growing, that's why you see a lot of homeless people. Let me add that. Also, so a lot of people didn't know where to go, or they're living in tighter quarters because they can't afford the high rents. So, despite the growing throughout other parts of Los Angeles, so in recent years, residents of the surrounding area of the UPC have been displaced faster and more than often than residents of other LA areas due to the surging student demand and living closer to campus, according to the Human Impact Report. And so, however, Kik Lee Kian of the Village Cobbler looks forward to what he predicts will be a bright future for his shop, as he believes that the new USC Village will bring his shop new customers. And so this was somebody who was still trying to remain there despite all of the things that were going on. So not many people were able to do the switch. And so, however, you had maybe a few that were still left over that were trying to make things work. So I'm happy with everything because it's going to be safer, more modern, and I think this change is good. Kilikian said, so since it's a new shopping mall, new shops around us, new people will come to. So meanwhile, Daisy Castro has a dim view of Kravitz Optometry current surrounding, which differ from the small, tightly knit community she spent a better part of 30 years working in, and now it's just traffic every day, Castro said, describing what she sees outside on Figueroa Street, not the families, the children, the locals she's used to seeing every day, but I guess we're more reachable now, just down the street from the school because people see us more. That's that. Although the USC's opening has been highly anticipated and well covered in the news, Mike Sokai said that it's a topic his father tries to forget. So at that point, I think he's heartbroken. He hasn't really gone to that area because it brought a lot of suffering for him, Mike Sokai said. So that pretty much, I don't think this article was really shared as much or people really paid much attention to it because everybody was in a hoopla for the new expansions of USC. They're constantly building around there. The more they build, the more they push out residents, the more they push out small business owners. And so that's what hurts the communities as well. That causes displacement of not only just residents that are low income, but people that have small businesses get pushed out of those areas as well. And I don't think people realize that the severity of the displacement is not only just on regular local families, but it's also on people who have worked there for years. And so this is really invasive, these moves that they've made. And so I personally, if you look in some of the areas, they have been heavily gentrified. So okay, so the five, I don't know if you can see this. I'm going to get rid of this. So I'm going to go to this, and it says California has 5 of the top 20 most gentrified U.S. cities, topped by San Francisco. Oakland study shows Here's the list. Okay, so this was out of from Jessica Flores out of USA Today, and this is a recent article right here. San Francisco, Oakland, San Jose, Sacramento, San Diego, Los Angeles. Of the 20 most intensely gentrified cities, California has 5 of them, according to a new study. The National Community Reinvestment Coalition used data from the American Community Survey conducted by the U.S. Census Bureau to rank the cities on gentrification during a 5-year period. This is a 5-year period ending in 2017. San Francisco, Oakland was number 1, followed by Denver, Boston, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, New Orleans. A similar study released last year ranked cities from 2000 to the early 2000s to 2013, with Washington, D.C. as the most gentrified city. The nation's capital dropped to number 13 in the newest study released last month. NCRC once again found that gentrification and displacement was highly concentrated, and the most low-income most low-income neighborhoods, and the vast majority of cities continue to deal with a chronic lack of investment. And study authors wrote, so researchers identified 954 gentrifying neighborhoods for the study, mostly in 20 metropolitan cities. The other California cities on the list: San Jose, Sacramento, San Jose being 8, Sacramento 10, San Diego 14, Los Angeles 15. The coastal cities always show up as most gentrifying, so it's not surprising at all, said Karen Chappell, with faculty director of the Urban Displacement Project at University of California, Berkeley. Coastal cities have the hottest housing markets and most intensive job growth, Chappell told USA Today. So the study shows the cities experiencing rapid population and economic growth were rare. Chronic disinvestment and poverty, rather than growth and displacement, were the common in nearly all low or moderate income neighborhoods, according to the study. So, as the coronavirus pandemic has ravaged the U.S. and highlighted health, racial, economic disparities, Black and Latino communities have been disproportionately affected. So, COVID-19 struck a nation that has already mostly struggling, Jesse Van told CEO NCRC, said in a news release. Recovery in most places will be even more challenging than those where investment was already concentrated. So there is no doubt that the protests that have erupted nationwide, or at least in part motivated by the nation's long history of racial economic inequality, the gentrification in the 2010s or the early 2010s was related to job growth and transit, Chappell said. But as the pandemic continues, the demand to live in central cities may decline. So I would expect that a lot of the real estate markets are going to soften considerably as people, particularly in tech jobs, begin working at home now. And so with that also, I'm going to add tech jobs don't hire as many Blacks and Latinos, so that's been a problem. And so most of the tech jobs usually there's a lot of discrimination, is what I'm hearing, that they tend to hire people that are white. And so one way, I'm going to go back to the article, it says, one way to attack gentrification, Chappell said, is to preserve affordable housing before buildings are bought and flipped into high-end apartments. The Small Sites program in San Francisco, for example, provides loans to nonprofit organizations to buy and convert buildings. So here's the full list. These are the list of places I believe that have been gentrified: San Francisco, Oakland, Denver, Boston, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, New Orleans, Austin, Texas, New York City, San Jose, California, Phoenix, Sacramento, California, Minneapolis, Indianapolis, Washington, D.C., San Diego, Los Angeles, Baltimore, Chicago, Philadelphia, Detroit, Dallas. Where are we having all of the protests? Most of these cities. So I'm just going to leave this with you so you can see that this thing is bigger than just the pandemic. It's about economic inequality, it's about injustices, it's about not having affordable living. These things were happening even with areas around universities where they're being priced out of communities. Also, you have like business owners that are small business owners that are displaced as well as the people that live there. And so these have been long problems that have been systemic as well throughout the communities. And so in any of the other areas, if all of that has been the case, this is the reason why you have a lot of social divide as well, because it's like I said, it's like the haves and the have-nots, and you have these people who are very insensitive to the lives of people that have been in these communities forever and a day. And so I've even seen, like ads or displays on apartments.com, or like when you're looking for apartments, who they'll specifically target people and say, are you a student? Are you a student? And that is the reason why people with Section 8 vouchers are pushed away from these areas. That is your answer, because they want people who can pay the market rate rent. They want students, but they want high income earners, people who make 4 and 5K and make 6K a month. And that's impossible when you have people who are on the lower income spectrum. So I'm just going to leave this with you so you can see what was going on here. These are huge issues that I don't think they brought out, and these are indicators as to what was going on before and to what is happening now. So I'm going to let this video go. Like, comment, subscribe, and thanks for listening.